It sounds like the monarchy will be shifting in a slightly different direction.
I think it's safe to say that change is on my agenda. Change for good.
A sudden swing of the palace doors set the tone as the entire room seemed to freeze in place at the exact same moment. No smiles, no easing in, just Prince William stepping forward with a cold, controlled authority that instantly shifted the energy in Buckingham Palace. Behind him, tension spread fast as Queen Camilla's relatives stood locked in place, their confidence collapsing into confusion right before everyone's eyes. Cameras kept flashing wildly, but William didn't break focus even for a second. Like nothing around him could pull him off his path. The question hanging in the air was sharp and loud. Was this the moment the monarchy quietly changed direction forever? And now, the conversation turns to you. Do you think William's first major appearance as king was a clear message to the royal family or not? Drop your thoughts and stay tuned for more intense royal developments filled with tension and power shifts that can't be ignored. William's entrance at Buckingham Palace wasn't just an appearance, it felt like a total reset in motion. Earlier in private settings, he was seen relaxed, laughing with ease, enjoying simple moments like riding a scooter or sharing casual jokes without the heavy crown pressure showing at all. But the moment duty called, that relaxed version disappeared instantly, replaced with sharp precision and controlled movement that insiders noticed immediately. No hesitation, no pause for ceremony, just direct action, as he stepped into position like he already knew every second of what would happen next. Witnesses described the atmosphere as tight, focused, and carefully measured, like every detail had already been planned long before anyone arrived. Inside the palace corridors, longtime staff described the shift as unmistakable and intense. Every movement felt calculated, almost like the building itself was adjusting to a new center of control. One senior voice reportedly said it didn't feel like a continuation of King Charles's era anymore, but something more like a quiet but firm reset in direction that nobody could ignore. On the other side of the gathering, members of the Parker Bowles family, including Tom, Laura, and younger relatives, were seen observing in complete silence. The comfort they once felt around King Charles suddenly felt unstable, like familiar privileges were no longer guaranteed, but instead dependent on shifting decisions. Their expressions changed slowly from relaxed to uncertain, as they realized the environment around them was no longer predictable. Observers summed up the moment with one word: speechless. Not dramatic shock, but a deep realization that the structure they once understood had quietly shifted beneath them. Nothing needed to be said out loud because the tension was already speaking for everyone in the room. Even the balance between tradition and transition seemed to tilt heavily in real time, leaving a visible gap between what used to be and what was now forming. Every gesture from William carried weight, from his lack of hesitation to the controlled distance he maintained from familiar faces. Nothing about it felt random or accidental at all. By the end of the gathering, confusion was replaced with clarity, and that clarity was hard for many to process. Everyone present understood that influence inside the palace was entering a new phase defined by control, discipline, and quiet authority that didn't need explanation. Silence spread across Buckingham Palace like a signal no one could ignore. The Parker Bowles family soon realized that their standing wasn't as secure as they once believed after William's presence made the shift impossible to miss. What changed so quickly, and how did long-standing influence begin to weaken in ways nobody expected? Let's dig deeper into the growing tension. A heavy silence followed William's first steps past key family members during the appearance, and it hit harder than anyone anticipated. Everything they once enjoyed under King Charles wasn't permanent by tradition alone, but something granted through personal choice and shifting trust. For years, Camilla had quietly shaped access for her family within royal spaces, allowing Tom, Laura, and even grandchildren moments inside private events and gatherings. Tom was seen at official occasions as a food writer, while Laura occasionally appeared in more private circles, giving the family a rare level of proximity to royal life. However, that access suddenly felt fragile as internal dynamics shifted. A senior source had once suggested that future changes under Catherine could place Camilla in a more restricted position, a claim once brushed off, but now resurfacing in new light. Reports also suggested Camilla was unsettled by King Charles's decision to gradually increase William's authority, a move that allegedly left her feeling sidelined from key decisions. Whether fully accurate or not, the perception alone created tension that couldn't be ignored. When William passed without acknowledgement, the silence reportedly turned into rapid reassessment among those present. Private conversations followed quickly, and concern spread as people tried to understand what their future position might look like under this new structure. By the time William delivered his address, it became clear that roles within the palace were no longer stable or predictable. Old assumptions about influence and access suddenly felt uncertain, and people closest to Camilla were forced to reconsider everything they thought was secure. Camilla, once seen as someone who helped maintain access within royal circles, was now facing a shifting reality where influence could fade quickly if not aligned with the new center of power. Even weeks earlier, some insiders hinted at changes, but few expected it to arrive this visibly and this fast. Every invitation, meeting, and appearance now seemed tied to William's approval or direction, reshaping long-standing relationships inside the monarchy. What once felt stable was now replaced with uncertainty that no one could fully control. The announcement of King Charles's cancer diagnosis in early 2024 quietly became a turning point that reshaped everything inside Buckingham Palace. As responsibilities shifted, Prince William began stepping into roles that demanded more control, presence, and decision-making. From that moment forward, William wasn't just preparing for leadership, he was already performing parts of it in real time. Many insiders believed he had effectively been acting in the role long before any official confirmation appeared publicly. This gradual transition made his first major appearance feel less like a surprise and more like confirmation of something already established behind closed doors. Camilla, meanwhile, continued her royal duties, but within a changing environment where influence was no longer evenly balanced. Tensions reportedly grew around major decisions involving royal residences and family placements, including discussions about Prince Andrew's situation at Royal Lodge near Forest Lodge. William and Catherine were said to favour stricter outcomes, while others preferred a softer approach. These differences created quiet strain within the household, especially as Camilla often found herself aligned with King Charles, but increasingly out of sync with William's direction. The gap between approaches became harder to ignore as decisions moved forward. By the time William stepped forward in his first appearance as king, many observers felt the monarchy had already adjusted around him long before the public fully realized it. The shift didn't feel sudden inside palace walls, it felt confirmed. Camilla's circle reportedly reacted with silence, watching carefully as the new structure became undeniable. Influence, once steady and familiar, now depended heavily on alignment with William's direction. What looked like a transition on the surface was actually a long, gradual shift already completed in practice. Old alliances began to feel strained, and new authority settled firmly into place without needing loud announcements. A quiet power struggle between Catherine, Princess of Wales, and Queen Camilla has reportedly been building beneath the surface for years, hidden behind careful public appearances and controlled royal messaging. But what really drives this tension, and how does William's rise continue reshaping everything inside Buckingham Palace? The tension inside the palace begins to tighten even further, as hidden rivalries start to surface in ways that can no longer be brushed aside or softened with ceremony and polite smiles. Behind the polished walls of Buckingham Palace, the relationship between Catherine, Princess of Wales, and Queen Camilla has shifted into something colder, sharper, and far more controlled than ever before. What once looked like quiet cooperation now carries an undercurrent of competition that follows every step, every glance, and every public appearance. This growing divide is not loud or openly hostile, but instead shaped by careful distance and silent adjustments that insiders say have been building for years. William's rise toward the throne has naturally strengthened Catherine's position. placing her closer to the center of future authority, while Camilla's influence appears increasingly tested by the same movement of power. Staff inside the palace have reportedly adjusted schedules and engagements in subtle ways, reducing unnecessary overlap between the two households to keep tensions contained. During a high-profile state visit in early 2026, the situation reportedly became impossible to ignore as every movement carried extra weight and meaning. Catherine moved with calm precision, confidently guiding visiting dignitaries and drawing attention without needing to demand it, which did not go unnoticed by those watching closely. One moment that sparked heavy discussion was her appearance at the state banquet, where her choice of tiara was interpreted by some insiders not as fashion, but as a quiet signal of evolving status and future authority. Camilla's reaction, according to sources within palace circles, was marked by visible discomfort and frustration as she picked up on what others described as unspoken messaging layered into tradition and presentation. Following the event, communication between the two households reportedly cooled further, with exchanges becoming more formal, delayed, and increasingly handled through aides rather than direct contact. Even routine coordination was reduced to the bare minimum, signaling a clear widening gap. Some senior staff members described the atmosphere during this period as unusually cold compared to previous years, where cooperation once felt smoother and more predictable. Catherine, in particular, was said to have adopted a firmer stance, no longer feeling the need to soften disagreements or maintain surface-level harmony as she once did in earlier years. At the core of this situation is not simple personal conflict, but a deeper struggle over influence, positioning, and long-term legacy within a monarchy that is itself evolving under pressure. In environments like this, perception often carries as much weight as official duty, and every gesture can be interpreted as a signal of direction or intent. Sources close to Catherine suggest she believes that Camilla should take a more restrained public role to avoid unnecessary friction during this transitional period. Meanwhile, William has reportedly chosen not to intervene in these internal tensions, allowing the balance of influence to shift more naturally without direct correction or interference. That absence of mediation has only intensified the sense that the structure inside the palace is quietly rearranging itself in real time. Observers have pointed out that what appears to be personal distance is also deeply tied to questions of image control and public perception. Every appearance, every outfit, and every ceremonial choice is now being read through a political lens, turning routine events into moments of interpretation and speculation. The pressure around both women has increased significantly as the monarchy moves through a sensitive phase of transition. As this tension builds, attention is increasingly turning toward William's broader vision for the monarchy, which is beginning to take clearer shape. What kind of future is he preparing behind closed doors? And how might his direction reshape everything from ceremony to structure within the royal institution? The answers appear to point toward a monarchy in transformation. A new direction is emerging under William's influence, one that suggests the crown itself may soon look very different from what the public has traditionally known. He has made it clear in various discussions that he views change not as a threat, but as a necessary responsibility if the monarchy is to remain relevant in modern times. In a past interview during a visit to South Africa, he emphasized that tradition still holds importance, but it must constantly be evaluated to determine what still serves a purpose today. His vision leans toward a monarchy that feels more accessible and less distant, reducing the gap between royal life and ordinary people. Reports from royal correspondents, including Rebecca English of the Daily Mail, suggest that William is considering structural changes that could simplify the monarchy's public role. These ideas include fewer ceremonial displays, more focused engagements, and a general reduction in formality across royal duties. There are also discussions around reviewing long-standing systems such as royal warrants and internal household structures, aiming to streamline how the institution operates. Instead of frequent symbolic appearances, the focus would shift toward fewer but more meaningful public engagements with measurable impact. Those familiar with palace planning describe William as highly disciplined and outcome-driven, prioritizing long-term stability over tradition for tradition's sake. This approach has naturally created concern in some circles connected to Camilla, who recognized that such changes could reshape long-established influence networks within the royal household. His direction is also seen as firm and deliberate, with little indication that he will easily shift course once decisions are made. Early suggestions of reform include reducing ceremonial scale and re-evaluating routine engagements to make royal work more efficient and less repetitive. Overall, the emerging vision points toward a smaller, more modern monarchy designed to maintain relevance in a rapidly changing world. Within Camilla's wider circle, there is growing awareness that these shifts could significantly redefine expectations, roles, and influence across the institution. Although the transition is still unfolding gradually, it already signals a monarchy moving toward purpose-driven structure, where tradition is preserved but reshaped through careful modernization rather than unchanged repetition. Attention now turns to another major turning point that revealed even more about William's leadership style, the Andrew crisis, which exposed how far his approach to authority may already be developing behind the scenes. What exactly drove this firm position, and how did it reshape internal dynamics within the palace? The Andrew situation did not emerge as an isolated issue, but instead highlighted a deeper shift in how decisions inside the monarchy are being handled under increasing pressure. It showed a leadership style that prioritizes institutional stability above personal comfort or long-standing relationships. Inside palace discussions, William's position was seen as firm and uncompromising, especially regarding Prince Andrew's public role and the need for complete removal from official duties. His concern, according to insiders, was centered on protecting the monarchy's credibility and avoiding repeated reputational damage, while King Charles was reportedly more cautious and emotionally restrained due to family loyalty. William's approach was more direct, focused on long-term institutional survival rather than internal sensitivity. This difference in perspective gradually created noticeable contrast within senior decision-making circles. Debates surrounding Royal Lodge and residence arrangements added further complexity, intensifying internal discussions about how far changes should go. Some observers interpreted William's stance not just as policy disagreement, but as a subtle shift in influence within the royal structure itself. Others viewed it as a necessary correction after years of avoiding difficult decisions that required clear and decisive leadership. The disagreement did not remain limited to Andrew alone, as broader conversations extended to how other members of the York family, including Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, should be positioned within future royal engagements. William's reported preference for a more limited public role for them contrasted with Charles's softer approach, which aimed to maintain a visible but controlled presence. These overlapping views added further strain to an already sensitive internal environment. At the center of all these developments stood Queen Camilla, whose position became increasingly complicated as shifting priorities began to reshape influence within the palace. Her circle viewed these changes as part of a broader restructuring that was slowly redefining authority, access, and decision-making power at the highest levels. Commentators such as Jenny Bond and Robert Jobson have noted that this evolving leadership style reflects a monarchy moving toward discipline, modernization, and stricter handling of internal challenges. As these changes continue to unfold, the institution appears to be entering a phase where long-standing norms are being reconsidered under a far more structured and strategic approach that continues to reshape expectations across the entire royal household and beyond. As the system adapts to a new era of leadership and control, the way past monarchs handled power is often used as a reference point, especially the final phase of Queen Elizabeth II's reign in 2022, where firmness was always balanced with restraint and careful emotional control. In contrast, the current shift inside the monarchy is being described by insiders as moving towards something far more streamlined, almost sharper in its decision-making style, where outcomes matter more than sentiment or long tradition. William's early leadership moments are being interpreted not just as problem-solving, but as the reveal of a deeper governing mindset. For some supporters, this change signals strength, clarity, and stability in a modern world that demands faster action. For others, it feels more distant, even colder, as if emotional connection is slowly being replaced by structure and efficiency. Either way, the tone of the future crown is already forming in real time, and observers say it is impossible to ignore the direction it is heading. What makes this shift even more discussed is that attention is no longer focused only on the crown itself, but also on the subtle influence of Catherine, Princess of Wales, whose presence behind the scenes is becoming increasingly central to how the monarchy is perceived and shaped. Her role is now being viewed as part of the foundation of this transition, rather than just support beside it. The conversation around the future monarchy increasingly highlights Catherine as a stabilizing force within the system, someone who brings balance during moments of change and pressure. Insiders often describe her as a quiet anchor during William's transition into kingship, helping guide the tone of decisions without seeking visible control or dominance. Her influence is not loud or dramatic, but it flows through planning, timing, and emotional steadiness within the royal household. Many observers believe her vision leans toward a monarchy that feels more grounded, less distant, and more connected to everyday life, while still preserving dignity and structure. Because of her upbringing outside the traditional royal environment, commentators have often pointed out that she brings a perspective shaped by ordinary experience rather than inherited royal routine. That difference is frequently described as part of what allows her to bridge tradition with a more modern and accessible public image. Behind palace walls, planning for transition has reportedly included quiet structural adjustments that shaped expectations long before public appearances confirmed them. Internal coordination, communication flow, and engagement planning were all refined to support a more streamlined system under William's direction. Within those adjustments, one detail often mentioned by insiders is a reduced reliance on extended family networks connected to Queen Camilla during formal state representation. This shift has been interpreted by some as a move toward a tighter inner circle, focused on clarity and control, rather than broader informal influence. When William made his first appearance as king, many observers noted that the moment felt less like a ceremonial beginning and more like the confirmation of a structure already in motion. Catherine's positioning beside him reinforced that impression, as both appeared to operate with a shared understanding of timing and presence. She remained slightly offset rather than directly in front, maintaining balance between visibility and restraint, which further emphasized the idea of joint leadership functioning as a coordinated partnership. Their movement together was often described as synchronized, almost rehearsed, through long preparation rather than sudden change. Public attention also intensified following Catherine's return to duty after her cancer diagnosis and treatment, with many observers noting the strength and composure she displayed during that period. Her presence at engagements carried a sense of resilience that strengthened public perception of stability within the monarchy during uncertain times. Those close to the couple often describe her as steady under pressure, someone who becomes more focused during high-stakes moments rather than withdrawing from them. That quality is frequently highlighted as part of why her influence within the royal framework is seen as increasingly significant. In contrast, observers also noted the quieter presence of Camilla's wider family during key public transitions, with some interpreting this as part of a broader restructuring of visibility within royal representation. While not publicly addressed, the change has been noticed in how frequently different members appear at major state occasions. Ultimately, what is emerging is not just a shift in leadership, but a reordering of how influence is distributed across the monarchy. The structure now appears more unified around a central partnership, where decisions are shaped through alignment rather than multiple competing centers of influence. This naturally raises larger questions about what the next phase of the monarchy will truly look like under William's eventual full reign. How much change is being prepared behind the scenes, and how will it affect tradition, ceremony, and public expectation moving forward? The direction being described by insiders suggests a monarchy that is evolving towards simplicity and purpose-driven structure rather than large ceremonial display. William is increasingly portrayed as someone who values efficiency, clarity, and relevance in how the institution operates in modern society. In past discussions, including interviews during international visits, he has emphasized that tradition should be respected but also regularly reassessed to ensure it still serves a meaningful role today. This perspective reflects a leadership style focused on adaptation rather than preservation alone. Royal commentators have suggested that future changes could include shorter ceremonies, reduced formal display, and a more focused approach to public engagements. Instead of frequent symbolic appearances, the emphasis may shift toward fewer events that carry deeper purpose and measurable impact. Reports also indicate that internal systems such as royal warrants and administrative structures could be reviewed to improve efficiency and reduce complexity. These changes are often framed as part of a wider effort to modernize how the monarchy operates without removing its core identity. Within this evolving structure, William is often described as disciplined and highly strategic, prioritizing long-term stability over traditional expectations. That approach has naturally raised concern in some circles connected to existing influence networks, particularly those adjusting to a more centralized system. His decision-making style is generally seen as firm once direction is set, with little indication of reversal once plans are in motion. This reinforces the idea of a monarchy that moves with clearer direction and less internal hesitation than before. Even traditional ceremonies are expected to remain, but potentially in a more refined and simplified format that aligns with a modern public image. The goal appears to be continuity with adaptation rather than full reinvention. At the same time, questions continue to surface about the roles of extended royal figures and how their positions may evolve under this new structure. Discussions around visibility, responsibility, and representation remain ongoing as the system adjusts. Some observers believe that future decisions may focus on reducing public roles for certain family branches while maintaining a core group of working royals. This would further reinforce the idea of a smaller, more efficient monarchy. Within this broader shift, Queen Camilla's position remains part of ongoing adjustment as expectations and historical arrangements are gradually reassessed within the new framework. Her influence, once shaped by long-standing proximity and personal trust, is now being viewed through the lens of structural change. Commentators have noted that this transformation reflects a monarchy increasingly focused on discipline, modernization, and controlled public messaging. As this direction continues, the balance between tradition and efficiency becomes the central theme of the evolving institution. What remains clear is that this transition is not a single event, but a gradual restructuring of how power, influence, and representation function at the highest level of the monarchy. And as this shift continues to unfold, it leaves one final question hanging in the air about William's first appearance as king, the reaction it triggered, and the silence it left behind within Camilla's wider family. If you want to continue this series, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.